There's a warning I'm being told from the Bank of England. And apparently there's an ongoing rout in the gilts market, a material risk in UK financial stability. Thoughts on that?
Well, it's news to me as well, and I suggest that...
But you're the Deputy Prime Minister, you have to have views on these things.
I've just been sat here for the last 10 to 15 minutes.
You weren't expecting it?
It's a matter, dare I say it, for the Chancellor. I'm sure that you can follow up with the Chancellor today.
The bank is saying that it's going to have to bolster its emergency bond buying plan.
Well, the Bank of England is the responsible organisation, and it's for them and the Chancellor to work together on this matter.
Bank of England stepping in again today with more emergency support, warning of a material risk to UK financial stability. I mean, people are so concerned. I mean, are their pensions safe? Can you reassure them?
Yes, I'm absolutely confident pensions are safe. The Bank of England is independent and undertaking its role and trying to bring some stability, which it had done. And I'm not aware of the details of exactly what's happened this morning. The short briefing message I've had from Treasury is it's a technical financial stability. But we've seen quite a complex pensions market in the last decade shift on some of its what's called liabilities, how it addresses that. But it's important that we leave the Bank of England, of course, working in partnership with the Treasury and the Chancellor on how to develop whatever proposals are needed.
What some of your own supporters have been saying is that you're politically inept. William Hague in the Times today saying eventually you are going to have to uprate benefits in line with inflation and you're going to be dragged to it. And in the end, you'll get no credit for doing it because you'll be seen to be opposed to doing it. It's getting on a front foot in things like that. He says, and some backbenchers agree with him, are the things that will make a difference to this government. And if you don't do it, you'll fail.
Well, Justin, again, I would say that no decisions have been made, quite simply because...
Yes, but that's the point, isn't it?
No, it's not the point, Justin, as I'm about to explain.
Right.
The Secretary of State for Work and Pensions has to make a decision. That decision is always made in November based on information presented to the Secretary of State for Work and Pensions. And I appreciate some of the machinery of government can be boring. People want decisions made tomorrow when actually the full facts aren't available to the Secretary of State.
But this is a matter of principle. That's the point, isn't it? You're talking about the mechanics, and I quite understand why you are, but what a lot of your backers say, your own supporters, is hang on a second, this is just principle. We should just say what our principles are, and that is that the poorest people in society should not be at risk from inflation.
Well, our principles are well set out. We'd already spent money to support people with the cost of living, particularly focused on the lowest income in society. As the Prime Minister said as consistently, we will help the vulnerable. But as I say, I appreciate at times the machinery of government can be boring, but no definitive statement can be made about changes to benefit rates. Otherwise, of course, we'll end up getting into all sorts of legal cases in a different way as well.
Do you have a view on whether those in receipt of benefit should expect that those benefits are uprated in line of inflation? Because your cabinet colleague Penny Mordaunt does, and she thinks they should.
Well, I'm a member of the government. We have a government view. That government view has not yet been established. And my friend Chloe Smith, who has replaced me as Secretary of State for Work and Pensions, will be carefully considering all the evidence that's put to her by officials, and that decision will be announced in November.
They're anxiously waiting to find out how their benefits will increase over the next few months. It sounds like the government is now going to maybe forget this idea of linking benefits to salaries, to wages, and will link it to inflation instead. Is that likely now? Can you reassure people?
Well, no decisions have been made, John, and I used to undertake that role, and the Secretary of State has to wait until all the evidence is placed in front of her, and that happens in November, and that's when the announcement gets made. I'm just conscious also, within the last year, we have reduced what's called the taper rate, so effectively a tax cut, in effect for people who are working in work benefits, and universal credit covers people who aren't working as well as people who are. And that's why we will continue to try and get people working, whether higher up the pay scale or indeed, where appropriate, more hours in order to make sure they have more money in their pocket.
Surely you can answer Susanna's question. It's really simple. What do you personally think, irrespective of what the eventual decision is, do you think that benefits should be linked to inflation or not? It's a dead simple question. We'd like to know what you think.
I'm not going to second guess. I mean, this is the joy of being in government, that we work together as a team. It's not a case of having all sorts of individual personal views. I support the overall plan for growth that we are trying to achieve in order to grow the economy. But I think it's important that Chloe Smith be given that space to make the decision based on the evidence that I won't have in front of me, and I trust her judgment in doing so.
Nurses balloting to strike for the first time in 106 years, also relevant to your department. What are you going to do about that?
Well, I understand that the ballot is now open. We have honoured the independent pay review body's recommendations on this, and that was higher than many of the other pay rises that other public sector workers are getting. And I'm confident that those elements will continue to, dare I say it, having respected the independent pay review body, I'm not anticipating that we'll be making any further changes.
OK, so it looks as though you'll have a strike on your hands.
Well, I think that's a decision for the nurses who decide how to vote in this next coming month.
OK.
Why did you vote against the outlawing of smoking in cars containing children?
Oh, probably because I didn't think it was the right thing to be doing, to telling parents how to handle the situation.
So you think it's right to smoke in a car if you've got children in the car?
I think you'll find that the law. I can't recall now if the law changed or not. I think it probably did, but
I think it did.
I'm not getting into necessarily
do you think it's right
prescriptive.
if
we
you're
want a
driving...
positive prevention programme in the future.
You're talking about ditching home targets for affordable homes. Why are you doing that?
I'm not aware of any of that.
So that isn't true.
I'm not aware.
That isn't true. That apparently ministers have drawn up plans to exempt developers from having to build affordable homes, to scrap environmental protections and to allow people to add extensions without permission. That, according to Simon Clarke, that's not right.
I'm not aware of that policy, but if you want to ask Simon Clarke about policies...
Well, you're the Deputy Prime Minister, with all due respect.
Well, you're just throwing comments at me, Kay. I'm not aware of...
So it's not something that's been discussed around the...
I'm not aware of specific things like that, no.